TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, on Just Law, we normally discuss an area of law which may be of interest to you, our viewers. But secondly, and more importantly, it's a live show where you're able to call in and ask us any questions that you have on any aspect of English law. And the number that you'll be able to call on will be appearing at the bottom of your screen. So pick up your phone, please, and give us a ring and ask us any questions that you have. Hopefully on this show I should be able to deal with most aspects of English law, from immigration matters, family matters, criminal matters, etc. So whatever your query is, give us a ring and let's see whether we can assist you or not. Just a couple of matters before we get going. Obviously, because it's a live show, we're not able to look at your documents and then give you advice. So there may be circumstances in which we'll ask you to send your documents in so that we're able to give you more thorough advice after the show. And secondly, as our viewers will appreciate, doing a live sort of discussion, there's only so much information you can take from a caller live or fair. So to some extent, we might be able to only give you generic information. But that being the case, in my experience, over the last year or so whilst we've been doing this show, we have been able to give quite specific advice to most people who do call in. So the number you'll be able to call us on will be appearing at the bottom of your screen. As always, we normally pick a topic that may be of interest to you, our viewers, and we normally go through that topic. But even though the topic for today is immigration applications, and in particular European applications, so that's what I'm going to focus on today. Even though that's the topic, if you've got questions which relate to other matters, it's not a problem. Do give us a ring and we'll have a discussion about that as well. Now, the reason I've picked this particular option today relating to European applications in terms of the matter that I want to discuss in greater detail. The reason for that is that increasingly we are finding that we are making more and more European applications. And what I find at the moment is, unlike your normal standard spouse application for somebody who's come over from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever, where we all know what the procedure is, we all know what to submit, etc. There is a degree of uncertainty still, in my experience, over European applications, and that's the reason I want to look at European applications today. To some extent, European applications are much simpler in that there are only certain conditions which need to be satisfied, and other conditions which you normally satisfy for standard spouse application where somebody's come over from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc. That doesn't apply to European applications. So what I want to do is go through a typical application, go through the conditions which need to be satisfied, go through the documents that we need to collate in order to make a valid and successful application. As I say, what I tend to find at the moment is there are more and more of these applications being made, and surprisingly, a lot of these applications are being refused. To some extent, I think the reason behind that is because the Home Office does deal with these applications slightly differently. If I give you an example, if there is a problem with the application, for example, if the fee hasn't been paid, the Home Office will simply reject the application and send the papers back. However, in a normal spouse application, a normal immigration application, the Home Office normally takes a different position. If there's a problem, for example, it may be a problem with the fees, it may be a problem with photographs, etc. The Home Office won't just reject your application. They will normally write to you and give you an opportunity to rectify matters. And it's only when there's been a failure to rectify matters will they reject the application. So there's a completely sort of a different approach at the initial stage in terms of the validity of the application, and even later on as to how they deal with the application. There's a completely different approach to these applications, and that's why it's more important that the application, when it's submitted, you get it right the first time round, because if you don't get it right, what you will find is that there won't be an opportunity to put it right later on. The Home Office will just simply reject the application, and that will mean you're going to have to go back to square one again and start the application process off again. So really, I mean, that's the sort of the background to why we're doing the show today on European applications. So we want to see how you make a European application and how we make a successful application. The key point with immigration applications and indeed European applications is that there are certain documents, there are certain things which are mandatory, which must be done in order for the Home Office to accept the application. So let's look at what is mandatory. So for example, nowadays they do require you to complete the application form which is on the website. Previously there was more flexibility about whether that form had to be submitted or not, but that's a fairly straightforward matter. You find the right form, or alternatively, if you're making an online application, you make sure that you answer the correct questions for the online application. So that's to some extent straightforward. What else is mandatory? The key point here really is that it is mandatory to submit passports, valid passports in support of the application. So as far as the applicant is concerned, it's a requirement that a valid passport should be submitted. And as far as the sponsor, in this case the European national, as far as that person is concerned, again it's a key requirement that either their passport or a national identity card is submitted. If you fail to submit these documents and the application is rejected, then the problem is that the Home Office will not grant a right of appeal. So the first thing we need to focus on is the submission of these key identity documents. So what we tend to do, typically where you have an application being made by an overstayer, it may be that the overstayer doesn't have a valid passport. So what we tend to do is, instead of asking somebody or telling somebody to rush in and make an application, what we tend to do is to tell the client that, look, sort out the passports or the national identity documents first. This may delay matters for a couple of weeks, couple of months, but it does mean that in the long run we won't experience difficulties if we have the key documents, key identity documents in place. So the first thing, as I've said, is to ensure that we've got the applicant's passport and also the European national's passport and identity document ready in order to submit the application. You'd be surprised how many applications fall at the initial stage. The second mandatory requirement, again it's fairly simple, is that the key is that the required passport sized photographs have to be submitted. It's a simple matter, but if you don't submit the photographs, the Home Office isn't going to ask you to resubmit the photographs. They will simply reject the application. So what you will do is end up waiting 2-3 months. After waiting 2-3 months, you'll get a decision back saying your application has been rejected and you'd have to start again. So it's essential that the required photographs relating to you, the applicant, and also the European sponsor, they are submitted as well. Now thirdly, a simple point, obviously all these applications have to be paid for. Now, it did used to be the case that European applications didn't attract a fee at all, and that was changed a couple of years ago. So there is a fee for European applications, albeit the fee is quite minimal compared to normal Home Office fees. So if you take, for example, a normal Home Office application, the typical fee that you'll be paying will be £993, and in addition to that you'll be paying a NHS fee as well. But here with a European application, it's fairly straightforward. The fee is only £65 that needs to be paid. But again, the way the department that deals with these applications will deal with the fee issue is this, that if you haven't paid the fee, or if there is a problem collecting the fee from your bank account, they will not write to you, they will simply reject your application. So that's different to a normal European application where they will normally write to you and ask you to put right the problem with the fee. So typically, with a European application for a visa to stay in the United Kingdom, being made by somebody who is married to a European national, typically the key documents are your passport size photographs, and also the requirement to pay the required fee. Now, if you look at the application and you contrast that with a immigration application where somebody is married to somebody from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, you will see, first of all, that the fee is minimal. Secondly, there is absolutely no NHS fee to pay as well. So in terms of the cost is significantly less than making a normal immigration application. On the one hand here, we're paying a fee of £65 to make an application, whereas with a normal immigration application, normally you'd be paying with the NHS fee something in the region of £1,500. So there's a significant difference in terms of the fee that has to be paid. So these are the sort of mandatory documents we need to submit. We'll look at the other requirements in greater detail after we've taken our first call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
जी वालेकुम सलाम जी, thank you for calling.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, आपसे एक क्वेश्चन पूछना मैंने ई एप्लीकेशन से रिलेटेड है
जी. ओके.
प्रॉब्लम ऐसी हुई है कि मतलब मेरा एक फ्रेंड है, उसने एप्लीकेशन सबमिट करवाई थी बिजनेस वीजा की.
ओके, ऑलराइट.
उसकी बिजनेस वीजा की एप्लीकेशन रिजेक्ट हुई, फिर उसने FLRO डाली इन द स्पोर्ट ऑफ ई एप्लीकेशन
जी. ओके.
लास्ट ईयर इन द मंथ ऑफ अक्टूबर.
ओके, ऑलराइट. ओके.
FLRO चल रही थी, फिर मार्च के महीने में उसने एप्लीकेशन डाल दी EA की
जी. ओके.
तो EA की एप्लीकेशन अगस्त में उन्होंने इनवैलिड की, क्योंकि उसके जो स्पॉन्सर थे उसका ओरिजिनल आईडी नहीं थी, प्लस उसकी पासपोर्ट साइज फोटोग्राफ नहीं थी
जी. ओके. ओके. ओके.
तो उसके बाद फिर ऐसा हुआ कि उसने दोबारा EA की एप्लीकेशन डाली, लेकिन इन द मीन टाइम होम ऑफिस ने उसका जो है ना FLR वो रिजेक्ट कर दी
जी. आई अंडरस्टैंड जी.
तो अभी उसके पास 14 दिन का टाइम है. तो अभी एक कंपनी है जो उसे स्पॉन्सर देने के लिए इंटरेस्टेड है, क्योंकि उसने क्वालिफाइड नर्स है
जी. ओके.
तो कंपनी स्पॉन्सर देने के लिए इंटरेस्टेड है. क्या इन दी मीन टाइम अगर वो FLRO डाल दे तो वो कंपनी के स्पॉन्सर पे आ सकती है या नहीं आ सकती?
राइट. ओके. तो उसकी जो वीज़ा थी ना, ये FLRO डालने से पहले जो वीज़ा थी, वो वीज़ा क्या थी? वो वीज़ा क्या था?
उसके पास था जो कंपनी का स्पॉन्सर था, लेकिन वो कंटेन हो गया था.
राइट. कंपनी Tier 2 स्पॉन्सर था. ऑलराइट. ओके. तो उसके पास रियली 2 ऑप्शंस है. एक तो विदिन 14 डेज एप्लीकेशन डाल दे बेस्ड ऑन द Tier 2 स्पॉन्सर. वो पॉसिबिलिटी है या नहीं है?
मतलब अगर वो कंपनी जो है वो कहते हैं कि एक दफ़ा पहले स्पॉन्सर मिला हुआ था, अगर हम दोबारा स्पॉन्सर पे जाएंगे तो हमें 28 डेज की एडवर्टाइजमेंट देनी पड़ेगी.
राइट. ओके. सो प्रॉब्लम है,
तो उसके लिए वेट करना पड़ेगा 28 डेज.
टाइम नहीं है. तो ये उसके लिए बेस्ट ऑप्शन ये है कि अगर यहाँ ओवरस्टे हो जाएंगे तो फिर दोबारा अप्लाई करना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. उसको दिस इज़ द प्रॉब्लम कि वी नीड टू डिसाइड कि क्या करना चाहिए. बिकॉज अगर इफ़ द यूरोपियन एप्लीकेशन अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं है, अगर यूरोपियन एप्लीकेशन वैसे ही डाल रहे हैं और इट्स नॉट अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एप्लीकेशन, तो इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि यहाँ कोई ज़्यादा ओवरस्टे ना हो जाए. सो इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट कि यहाँ मोर देन 28 डेज ओवरस्टे ना हो जाए. अगर वापस जाना पड़े तो इट इज़ बेटर टू गो बैक एंड रीअप्लाई. Now, the other issue really is this कि ये जो यूरोपियन एप्लीकेशन जो डाला है उसमें कोई मेरिट है या नहीं है? इसमें काम होगा या नहीं? क्या लगता है आपको?
मतलब आप यही कह लो, क्योंकि फाइल तो एप्लीकेशन तो सबमिट करवाइए आप, अगर होम ऑफिस का डिसीजन है कुछ कह नहीं सकते.
राइट. मगर कोई स्ट्रॉन्ग केस है कि वैसे ही डाला है?
मतलब केस तो स्ट्रॉन्ग है. उसके अंकल हैं, उन्होंने जर्मन से आए हैं, तो इधर आके फाइल जमा करवाई है, बट अभी तक उसका कोई अभी श्योर नहीं है कि वो देंगे या नहीं देंगे, इसका कोई कुछ नहीं कह सकता.
ऑलराइट. ओके. सो ओके, अगर ऑलराइट, आई थिंक देन यूरोपियन पे अगर आप सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है कि इसमें होगा या नहीं, तो रियली वी शुड लुक एट कि वेदर यहाँ ओवरस्टे करने में कोई फ़ायदा है या नहीं. एक और ऑप्शन है, देयर इज़ वन अदर ऑप्शन. इसमें फॉर FLRO अभी डाल दे, राइट, विदिन 14 डेज FLRO डाल दे. फिर FLRO में एटलीस्ट 4-5 मंथ्स तो अभी भी लग रहा है, इवन दो दे क्विक एट द मोमेंट 4-5 मंथ्स लग रहा है. तो फिर क्या करे कि वाल्स द एप्लीकेशन इज़ पेंडिंग, अगर वो Tier 2 स्पॉन्सर ने एडवर्टीजमेंट कर लिया और सब कुछ हो गया, तो फिर वो स्विच कर ले whilst the FLRO is pending.
तो ये की एप्लीकेशन पे कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है ना इसमें?
नहीं प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, वो कर सकते हैं, मगर द ओनली डेंजर इज दिस कि अगर FLRO पेंडिंग है, राइट, और Tier 2 जो स्पॉन्सर जो नया मिला है इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम आ गया तो इस और FLRO में डिसीजन आ गया नेगेटिव कि नहीं सॉरी आपका रिजेक्ट हो गया, इन दैट टाइम आप स्विच जो करना जो इरादा था कि वी विल स्विच इट, यू हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू स्विच।
एक दफा तो FLRO रिजेक्ट हो गई है,
नहीं,
FLRO रिजेक्ट हुई है,
it doesn't,
संडे को रिसीव हुई है।
it doesn't matter, you can submit another FLRO. The only danger is that if this FLRO gets rejected in 5 months time or 6 months time, तो what they will say is that you have overstayed from now until when you get the decision letter. So it's essential ये है कि this time अगर आपने FLRO डाला तो आप switch कर ले before the decision is made on the FLRO. It's essential कि you switch before the decision on the FLRO is made in 4 or 5 months time. अगर हो गया तो fantastic. If for example, if for some reason there's a problem with the Tier 2 application, then you've overstayed by 2-3 months, 4 months जो भी है. After that it's impossible to.
तो सर आपसे एक क्वेश्चन है, जो लास्ट ईयर हमने FLRO डाली थी
जी,
तो उन्होंने मतलब जो होम ऑफिस ने लेटर दिया इस FLRO में जो संडे को रिसीव हुआ है, उन्होंने कहा कि जो तो बिजनेस वीजे की जब तक थी टाइम 4 साल और 10 महीने, उन्होंने कहा वो तो लीगल है, लेकिन ये जो FLRO का टाइम आया लास्ट नवंबर से लेके इस नवंबर तक 1 साल, उन्होंने कहा कि वो आप लीगल कैटेगरी में नहीं आते इन द यूनाइटेड किंगडम।
हाँ मगर
तो
आपने
10 साल वाले रूल से बाहर होगी आप।
नहीं मगर वो जो एप्लीकेशन FLRO का डाला था ना तो आपने टाइम पे डाला था ना, इसमें
बिल्कुल ऑन टाइम था।
हाँ तो अगर टाइम पे डाला था इट डज कंटिन्यू टू एक्सटेंड योर वीज़ा, वो एक्सटेंड तो होता है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, इट डज एक्सटेंड योर वीज़ा।
मतलब आप कहते हो कि हम स्पॉन्सर पे भी जा सकते हैं और हम नई FLRO भी डाल सकते
हाँ
हैं?
हाँ मगर द टाइम लिमिट इज इट हैज़ टू बी डन विद इन 14 days।
14 days
विद इन 14 days। अगर वो 14 days मिस हो गया ना
जी जी,
then there's a problem।
क्योंकि उस लेटर पे लिखा हुआ है कि अगर आप यूके के अंदर स्टे करना चाहते हो तो हमें एज सून एज पॉसिबल रीजन बताओ कि किस रीजन पे
हाँ वो रीजन जो कहते हैं कि राइट टू अस एंड टेल अस, इससे इट्स दैट्स यूजलेस, इससे इट डजंट हेल्प अस। What you need is a paid application। जो आप बात कर रहे हैं ना, 2 बार आप paid application FLRO डाल दें within 14 days। That's what you need to do। तो अगर if that is pending, तो you can then make another application। वो उसको vary कर सकते हैं application को, अगर Tier 2 का sponsor मिल गया और ये सब हो गया after the advertisements whatever, तो अगर Tier 2 का कोई sponsor मिल गया तो you can then vary the second FLRO application।
तो कंपनी कह रही है कि हम आपका यूके बॉर्डर एजेंसी से कंफर्मेशन लेंगे, अगर वो लें तो कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है?
वो नहीं देंगे कोई कंफर्मेशन, दे वोंट गिव एनी कंफर्मेशन, वो तो जवाब ही नहीं देते हैं ना। इफ यू फोन द हेल्पलाइन अप दे ओनली गिव यू जनरल
ईमेल करेंगे वो।
आई डोंट थिंक देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम विद दैट एट ऑल, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम, बट द रियलिटी इज यू कैन डू दिस, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम विद दिस। इफ यू सबमिट द FLRO इन टाइम विद इन 14 days you can switch whilst the FLRO application is pending, you can switch, there's no problem with that, you can do that।
Okay sir, thank you so much।
All right, thank you very much। Thank you। Okay, right, just going back to then what we were discussing, so there are certain mandatory documents we need to submit in order to make a successful European application, and the problem is if you don't submit the mandatory documents, unlike a Home Office application, what they will do is simply reject the application and return the documents back to you. So it's imperative that the mandatory documents are submitted. Like the caller was just saying now, they made a European application on behalf of a relative or a friend, but what happened was that the European sponsor's passport or identity card wasn't submitted, and that then formed the basis of the rejection of the application. Now, assuming that the person here is married to a European sponsor, assuming the mandatory documents are being submitted, so this is a typical situation where they've married, the marriage is subsisting. Which other documents do we need to submit in order to make a successful application? Well, there's only 2 key areas that we need to look at. So in that sense, a European application for a 5-year residence card for somebody who's married to a European national is quite easy, because apart from the mandatory documents of your passports, your passport size photographs and the fee, there are only two other key areas that we need to look at and to focus on in order to submit a successful application. What are those key areas? One is finances, and the second is evidence of the relationship. So unlike an immigration application where there are other requirements that need to be fulfilled, such as accommodation, etc., those matters don't come into a European application. They're not concerned about those matters. They're only concerned about finances and secondly the relationship. And what I want to look at now is the requirement in relation to finances, in relation to income, and to see how that requirement can be fulfilled. The main issue with income is that in most circumstances the European national needs to be working in the United Kingdom. So in most cases you will find that the European national needs to be either in employment or can be in self-employment. And there are other limited circumstances where the European national might be a student or might be self-sufficient. We'll look at that in greater detail after we come back from our short break in the next couple of minutes. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.